and IB in those systems, and we had standard level courses, and we had advanced level courses, and we had everything in between. And one of the things that I don't know that we talk enough about, that I want to make sure is clear as part of our work in IB, and that really sets IB apart, is it's more than just knowledge of content. In the AP program, and having worked with it extensively, and in the standards of learning that are given to us by Virginia, one of the things that we know is a lot of what we do on a daily basis within the context of those two things, SOL and AP, are around knowledge acquisition. And that in the IB program is just a piece of what our kids are getting to. We have much bigger expectations for our students here in the City of Falls Church. And so when you look at the criterion that are associated with the IB program, you look at criteria A, and criteria A is about knowing and doing. And that's great. It's really important that our students can know and do the curriculum. In fact, one of the first questions that our teams of teachers ask themselves when they're meeting is, what do we want our students to know, be able to do, and understand? Perfect question to be asking. But that's just part of the equation of what we want our students to look like when they leave our class. So it goes deeper than that. So when we look at criterion B, we get into investigating. And investigating is really interrogating ideas and figuring out questions like, how does this work that I'm knowing and doing or learning connect to my life, and how does it provide context and meaning, and how do I utilize this experience in other aspects of my life? And that's criteria B. Criteria C is around communicating. So how am I able to effectively communicate what it is that I'm learning, not only with my peers, but also take that information that I've learned and leveraged it for other experiences, whether it's in this content area, another content area, or as I vertically grow as a student, how do I continue to grow and learn and then communicate that learning that I've received earlier in a way that's meaningful as well. And then criterion D, which is critical thinking, is sort of the holy grail. We want all of our kids to be able to take what they've learned and to be able to critically think and problem solve. And so when we look at the profile of the Virginia graduate, the profile of the Virginia graduate asks for much more than knowing and doing. In a standard SOL course, or in a course that is perhaps an advanced placement course, we get students to know and do. And what you end up doing to meet the Virginia profile of a graduate is you end up sort of fitting a square peg in a round hole. In other words, you're developing curriculum, you're developing concepts to provide opportunities for students to get into critical thinking, problem solving, communication, collaboration, while in the International Baccalaureate program, it's there. It's already part of how we plan. It's already part of how we think. And so when I think about every classroom being infused with the approaches to teaching and learning in the City of Falls Church schools, I think about how do we take criterion A, B, C, and D and really look at whether it's a standard level course, an English speakers of other language course, a course in special education. How do we take that course and infuse knowing and doing, communicating, critical thinking, and that whole investigation piece into how we plan? And that is, and the important piece to that is that's how we work. So it's culturally how we approach the work here in the City of Falls Church. So the idea of going deeper and thinking about IB for all, I'm not at all suggesting that every student has to take an IB diploma program course. What I'm suggesting is that all of our students pre-K to 10 are part of the PYP program and are part of the MYP program, so they are inextricably linked to the International Baccalaureate program, because all of those courses that are taught between K and 10 are utilizing the International Baccalaureate approaches to teaching and approaches to learning. But what we are saying is that when those students come up pre-K through 10, have those experiences, that they are well positioned to be able to successfully access, if they wish, one of our IB diploma program courses moving forward. So I just want to kind of put that out there, because one of the things that, again, I'm not sure that we do a really great job of is distinguishing between why IB and why not IB. And IB really gets us to a place that, with depth and complexity, our students can learn at deep and meaningful levels. So this is really important for us, because what we want is we want to encourage all of our students and staff and community members to ultimately become active, compassionate, and lifelong learners. And by digging into the learning and meeting each of those criteria, we're raising students that love to learn. The second is, sorry, can I stop?
Just a quick question on that. Is it just in the classroom where IB is being deployed? Is it happening in extracurricular activities or sports or outside the classroom? And that just occurred to me when I saw that.
Yeah.
So I didn't know the answer to that, so I thought I'd ask.
Yeah, Mr. Castillo, it's a great question. And it goes to, it sort of goes to the second part of the presentation tonight, which is around the triennial plan. Because one of the things that we are working really hard to do is to align all of our practices across the system with the core values and core tenets of International Baccalaureate. So when we talk with Kristen Michael, our Chief Operating Officer, who's developing strategic goals for our custodial staff or for our food services staff or for our bus driving staff, they are looking at the approaches to teaching, the approaches to learning, and also those traits of the International Baccalaureate learner, and saying, how can we support those? So the answer to your question is yes, and we have some work to do to make that happen. But that is a big piece of what you'll see as we develop our goals moving forward, operationally and instructionally, the weaving in of the IB program. The second piece is around this caring community and culture. We believe strongly, and I think you saw some of it tonight, just even in the morning message and the work that's happening in our schools, that together, through an interdependent relationship, not only teacher to student, student to teacher, but teacher to teacher, teacher to parent, parent to teacher, and the like, we get a much better experience for our students and for ourselves as a school division and teaching. We also believe that we create a better and more peaceful world through our intercultural understandings and respect for our diverse community. So when you think back to those, again, those traits of a learner within the International Baccalaureate program, we do recognize and support through an open-mindedness approach this diversity. We are working really diligently in all of our work with respect to PBS, or positive behavior supports, MTSS, or multi-tiered systems of support for kids, through our relationships with our school counselors, through all of our social and emotional learning, this notion of building relationships that are safe, and safe meaning sort of, and the distinguishing factor here for me is safe meaning emotionally safe, students feeling good about being where they are, feeling like they have a significant adult in their life that they can connect with. Secure, meaning safe in our schools, buildings being secure. So how are we, that's the hardening side of things, and how are we promoting security in our schools, and then also in a bully-free environment, both face-to-face, cyberbullying, wherever bullying can come up. And then lastly, we're focused again on that social and emotional health of our students and also our community. And then the last is around closing gaps. And the first piece that we would say there is that we are committed to equity. And equity meaning providing strong access without failure to all of the students that we serve, to have engagement and more than just opportunity, but true engagement in everything that we do. So when you see the words on the page, you'll see things like, for those groups who have historically received less, will consistently provide time, attention, support, effort, resources, advocacy, and energy to meet their needs. And that does not mean that we're not meeting all students' needs. It means that we are providing an equitable approach to learning. So we're going to push all of our students to meet their highest level of learning, and we're going to differentiate through the process, but we're also going to focus some of our time, effort, and energy providing for students that have been historically marginalized. And then through multi-tiered systems of support that are in place in all of our buildings, again, supporting all students holistically by name and by need. So as we work through these three big ideas that all sit on this notion of the learner profile, you will see in our goals that are going to be coming forward and our work plans within the triennial plan that they are, I think, meaningfully aligned to IB, a caring community and culture, and closing gaps. The piece that I really appreciate a lot about the work that this team did and sent forward to us to share with you tonight is that in many ways, and I'm going to back up here just a second, when you look at this, it really does sort of, it looks remarkably clean, that this is who we are and this is what we're about. And so when we think about getting real clear, it helps us do that. So that is an update of the work of the placemat. We will continue to share that out. We're trying to figure out how to distinguish it from last year's, other than just its look. Some of the color schemes are the same, so maybe the branding is right, but we also want to be able to say that this is sort of placemat 2.0, if you will. So, Madam Chair, I'll entertain any questions that you might have about that.
Any questions from the board?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Okay, so going back to the IB for all for a second, kind of okay. Sorry, I was looking at an old one here, so I'm on my screen looking on the new one.
Hence the distinguishing.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. I'm getting back to the new one. So with respect, yeah, it's the top there. Channeling Mr. Ridinger, who's always looking to get rid of words. And also, I've got my, Premier IB, small division or not. Would it make sense, perhaps, to take that we aspire to be the premier international baccalaureate school? I kind of wonder, well, how would we know that? Mm-hmm. And to channel Mr. Ridinger, what would our metrics be? And do we really want to go that way? And would it be, for example, possible to say, using IB, comma, we strive to create a personal environment that supports each child's unique needs, to make it more of an operational issue and get away from, trying to say we're number one. I'd throw that out there for your consideration. I don't know, that just occurred to me while I was looking at it.
It's been, thank you for the question, and it has been, quite honestly, an interesting and spirited debate among the folks that work most closely with the IB program within our system, that are training our teachers, that are embedded in classrooms, and that are working through it, because that is a good question. It's like, how do you know? How do you know that you're the premier international baccalaureate program? And it's not good enough just to say it. I mean, it would be great if we could say it and we could get away with it. We've actually gone out and worked with a couple of school systems and asked them if we could benchmark some of our work. And we've actually been encouraged by a number of people over the course of the last several months to reconsider that approach, to move away from the competitive nature and sort of think about how do we as a system benchmark against ourselves. And so I think the metrics that perhaps could come from this would be more aligned to how is our teacher planning working, how is our work and our approaches to teaching working, so that we can develop some, maybe perhaps even not threshold measures, but sort of passages at points in time to see how students are doing, so that when we say we aspire to be the premier international baccalaureate school division, maybe it's we aspire to, I'm not exactly sure what the right words are, but essentially be better than what we are today. And so I think we continue to look at that and we continue to wrestle with it, and I appreciate the feedback.
Other questions? Mr. Ridinger? And then Ms. Russell.
So thank you, Dr. Nader. First off, thanks to you and the team for doing this work. I do like this placemat a lot better for, since Mr. Castillo was channeling me, it's got fewer words and fewer pictures, and it's a lot cleaner and clearer, and I think it says what our values are, and that's an important thing to do. I actually would I have a little bit of caution about trying to remove competitive pressures, because I think you always want to be as good as you can